Alright guys, in today's video we have more PlayStation news and info to go over and talk about, but before I get into it, I do want to let everybody know that I'm not going to be streaming Returnal today because my copy of the game still hasn't arrived yet, unfortunately. And I've also heard that some people are running into an issue where the game is crashing on them. Now, it's weird because it seems for some people there are no crashes at all and it's running perfectly fine even after 10 plus hours of gameplay. Others are saying that it's crashing for them multiple times within a couple of hours. So what I'm going to do is when I get the game, I'm going to sit down with it and play it myself for a little while to get a feel for it and to also see if I end up running into that issue where the game starts crashing. And then depending on what happens, that'll determine how soon we end up streaming the game here. But in the meantime, I do have some news on Returnal to go over in this video, and we're also talking about the PlayStation 5 as well. So we're starting here with something that I think people who are struggling to find a PS5 still might find somewhat uplifting. Apparently, Sony is considering altering the design of the PlayStation 5 to cope with the demand, right? We know that Sony's having a serious struggle keeping up with demand, and if it stays the way it has been, it's seeming unlikely it's going to be able to keep pace with the PS4 unless something changes. So it says here, VGC transcribed a Sony investor call that took place following the release of the company's annual earnings report, where Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki said that we're aiming for more sales volume than the PS4 in its second year. But can we drastically increase the supply? No, that's not likely. The shortage of semiconductors is one factor, but there are other factors that will impact on the production volume. So at present, we'd like to aim at beating second year sales of 14.8 million, which was the second year of the PS4. It's unsurprising to see Totoki making reference to the ongoing global semiconductor shortage, as the chip crisis is causing manufacturing headaches in just about every industry, with all sorts of technology products affected, from video game consoles to electric vehicles. Totoki did suggest that Sony may be able to cope with the shortage by either finding a secondary resource to manufacture its consoles with, or by even going as far as, quote, changing the design, unquote, of the machine in order to circumvent the issue. While we don't expect the PS5 to undergo a major redesign anytime soon, it is interesting to hear that Sony is considering tweaking the console slightly in order to increase its ability to meet the overwhelming demand. So yeah, this is something that, kind of went under the radar. We went over this information, but this was something that I didn't come across, that I wasn't aware that Hiroki Totoki said that they are considering a redesign. Now, what this means, I don't think this means that they're going to make it more or less powerful. That would make no sense at all. I think what it might mean is they might try to reevaluate what is inside of the PS5 and potentially remove certain components that are just not truly necessary to actually manufacture a functioning PlayStation 5 console. If not that, maybe it's just the form factor. I mean, it's hard to say what exactly that means, right? Because when we think of a redesign, we oftentimes think of like a slimmed down version, right? Like just a different looking console. So who knows what Sony's going to do? I do think that they will do something drastic like that if they really feel that they have to, because the worst thing that could happen to PlayStation right now is this semiconductor shortage becomes such an issue that they just simply can't sell consoles. That would be really bad for them. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But I want to move on from that and talk about an interesting piece of information I came across. It says here, GDC survey reveals PS5 and PC platforms interest developers the most. So it says GDC has published its annual State of the Game Industry report, which includes the results of its survey of over 3,000 video game developers. In its very first question, the organization asked developers which platforms interest them the most, and a whopping 58% chose PC. Among consoles, PlayStation 5 took the lead with 44% of those surveyed finding it the most interesting platform right now. The Switch got 38% of the votes, and the Xbox Series consoles got 30% of those votes. Google Stadia received the least amount of love at 6%. Asked which platforms they're currently developing games on, 58% said PC, 32% said iOS, 31% said Android, 27% said PS5, and 24% said Xbox Series. consoles. Only 17% are currently developing a game for the Switch. So some interesting data here. It's worth noting that this is only based off of 3,000 devs, so it's not really, you know, a huge pool of developers that they're surveying here. But it is interesting to me that the PlayStation 5, you know, out of these 3,000 that were, you know, doing this survey, are saying that they prefer the PlayStation 5 when it comes to development, right behind PC. So very interesting. Just wanted to let you guys know about that. I think that that's a good thing. I think it's worth noting that one of the things Mark Cerny focused on when he talked about the design of the PlayStation 5 and what went into it is they wanted to make it very easy for developers to, you know, make games on. And I think that we're seeing the PlayStation 5 benefit from that. But we're moving on from that and talking about Returnal, because it seems that Housemarque has addressed the lack of a save point. So this is something that, you know, people who've been playing Returnal, at least some people, are complaining about. And we did actually talk about this when we went over the reviews. I think it was IGN specifically who pointed out that, you know, there's no way to save in the middle of a run, and some of the runs can last way too long, and it can, you know, be a problem for people who can't play for that long. So it says here, Returnal developer Housemarque has addressed concerns about the lack of a save option during the middle of a run in the PlayStation 5 exclusive roguelike, which launched today. The studio was responding to a post on Reddit where a user argued that a better save option should be implemented, and they listed a few reasons. You know, they were saying that people, you know, who are busy, they just won't have the time to play it all. And, you know, they're saying that there's just no real reason in their opinion why there shouldn't be a save point. And in response, Housemarque acknowledged the issue and assured gamers that it is listening to the community, although it didn't outright confirm that anything was in the works at this stage. But, you know, hopefully this will change. And they said, we hear the community and we love you all. Nothing to announce now, but keep playing and enjoying the challenges as you can. So, you know, there's no guarantee that they're going to end up doing this. I think they're going to have to look at the data. Obviously, I would assume that they have access to this data to see how people are playing the game. And if they feel like it's something that they need to implement through a patch, then they will. But, you know, I want to respect the devs here, where it's like, if their vision of the game says that, you know, there doesn't need to be a save point, you know, in the middle of a run, and they don't want there to be a save point, then I'm all for that, you know. But I haven't played it yet, so who knows? I may end up being completely against that. I'm going to be interested to see how I end up feeling about it. But, you know, I want to respect the devs. But if it is something that more and more players are asking for, then, you know, maybe it would be a good idea. We'll have to see what happens, though. But they say that they are listening. But I'm going to close out this video talking more about Returnal, and I just wanted to focus on a few things here, mainly what this PS5 exclusive is doing really well in certain areas. I mean, the game looks really good, obviously. Visually, it seems to be very impressive. Everything I've seen looks really good. The particle effects, apparently it plays very smoothly, prioritizes performance with very few drops, you know, scattered randomly. But something that I've seen a lot of people talk about that I have to certainly highlight here, and I will obviously talk more about it once I play the game for myself, is how well this game implements the features of the DualSense as well as 3D audio. The reason why I'm talking about this is because when Sony was marketing the PS5, and, you know, they are still marketing the PS5, obviously, one of the things that they focused on was not just how much better can we make these games visually, but they really wanted to try to go the extra mile and innovate when it comes to the senses, right? And how they could get you more immersed into games outside of just the visual aspect. And in my opinion, they achieved that in a big way with the DualSense and even 3D audio. But what I've been hearing is that this game really takes these things to another level. It seems that Housemarque really went above and beyond to make this game as immersive as it possibly could be in every sense, literally. And I just had to take a moment here to acknowledge that, because to me, that's what makes the PS5 such a unique console, and why I've always praised what Sony decided to do with the PS5 so much, because for them, it was never just about, you know, the visual fidelity of games, even though they're obviously nailing that with games like Returnal and especially Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. But what they're doing you know, with the haptic feedback, the adaptive triggers, the 3D audio. I love it, man. I love it. And it's not a gimmick. And I think that that's the most important thing to highlight here is I think that there were a lot of people who were very skeptical about, you know, these features, thinking they're gimmicky and they're not really going to be used. But it seems that it's quite the opposite, that they really go a long way in when they're, you know, utilized properly in enhancing the overall experience and getting you much more immersed. And with a game world like Returnal, right? You see how like dark it is and just atmospheric. I feel like it works perfectly here. I mean, I haven't played it, but it seems like it works perfectly. And I'm going to let you know, obviously. I'm sure some of you who've already played it by this point, let me know in the comments how the DualSense feels when playing this game. How is the 3D audio? Let me know down below. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Leave it a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.